Okay, my name is Bobby Vaught. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you so choose. In the description down below, I'll put a link to lesson 1 of a series that I've done, Everything You Need to Know to Understand Investing. I've done 16 lessons now. If you're interested, go to lesson 1. I'll put it in the link put the link in the description below to lesson 1, and then each lesson has a link in the description to the next one. So lesson 1 has a link to lesson 2, which has a link to lesson 3, so on and so forth. Make them all real easy to find. Everything you need to know to understand investing. I've done 16 lessons, some more coming at some point. Go through the whole thing if you're interested. You will understand investing better than 99% of the people out there, in my opinion. Today's presentation, however, is not about that. There's two different parts to this channel. There's the investing side, which I just mentioned, and then there's the political side, political commentary, social, economics commentary sometimes, that kind of thing, which is today, okay? All right, so let's just jump into it here. So I did a presentation a few months ago. I don't remember exactly when it was. It's on this channel somewhere back there. If you're interested enough, you could go back and find it. It was months ago. I was going through the list of Islamist terrorist attacks in Europe over just the last 30 years, now roughly 31 years, since about 1994. There's been over 100 such Islamist terrorist attacks in Europe during that time frame. A large majority of them were just, there were things like, there's 2 people dead here, 3 dead here, 2 here, that kind of thing, 5. So before we kind of get further into this, I'm going to talk about some of the major attacks, some of the real big ones. So before we get into that, though, I think we need to, just so there's no misunderstandings, let's define Islamist, okay? Because an Islamist would always be someone who's of Islam. Not all Muslims, however, are Islamists. All right. So an Islamist, or radical Islamist, if you prefer, is anyone who is an... Okay, let's define Islamist, just so there's no misunderstandings here before we go further. The term Islamist describes a person who advocates or supports Islamism, which is defined as a movement advocating the social and, listen to this closely, which is defined as a movement advocating the social and political establishment of Islamic fundamentalism. Islamism, or Islamist, is a political ideology that advocates for Islam to play a central role in public life, in other words, yours, including governance and social structures. It is distinct from the religion of Islam itself, representing a specific interpretation and application of Islamic principles to political and social spheres. Islamist. Okay, so just so there's no misunderstandings, when we use that word, that's what it means. Essentially, in other words, an Islamic state, Islamist. So, some of the worst attacks in Europe, just over the last 30 years, the really super major ones. The worst Islamic attacks in Europe was for example, the March 11, 2004 Madrid train bombings, where 191 people were killed and 1,800 people injured. This attack involved a series of explosions on commuter trains in Madrid, Spain. Another attack was the July 7th, 2005 London bombings, which killed 52 people. The worst Islamist terrorist attack in Brussels, in terms of casualties at least, was the 2016 Brussels bombing on March 22nd, 2016, Belgium. The 2016 Brussels bombings. The 2016 Brussels bombings involved 2 synchronized suicide attacks, 2 at the Brussels airport and another at the Malbec metro station. The Islamic State, IS, group claimed responsibility for these attacks. Casualties. The bombings resulted in the deaths of 32 civilians and injured over 300 others. 3 of the perpetrators also died. Third attacker at the airport escaped. before detonating the explosive device. These attacks were the deadliest in Belgium since World War II. In response, the Belgian government declared 3 days of national mourning. The most devastating Islamist terrorist attacks in France include the November 2015 Paris attacks, the Charlie Hebdo attack in January 2015, and the 2016 truck attack. The November 2015 Paris attacks carried out by the Islamic State, IS, were the deadliest, with coordinated attacks at a concert hall, cafes, restaurants, and the National Sports Stadium, resulting in 130 deaths and hundreds wounded. Okay, so I just wanted to cover the majors. Okay, there was literally about 100 Islamist terrorist attacks in Europe, over 100 just in the last 31 years now. So here's the point that I really wanted to get to. So all of this raises the question, the obvious question, exactly who are the xenophobes? Xenophobia. Listen to this definition carefully. Xenophobia is the fear, dislike, or hatred of people from other countries or cultures. It's a form of prejudice based on the perception that those who are different pose a threat to one's own group, culture, or nation. This can manifest as distrust, avoidance, or even hostility towards foreigners or anything perceived as foreign. Well, okay, so foreign. I live in Texas. If I move to Europe, if I move to Saudi Arabia, if I move to, I don't know, pick a place, Japan, okay, well, that's foreign to me. The point I'm getting at here is that the geographical arrows, which way the arrows are pointing in terms of migration, it isn't a prerequisite to being deemed a xenophobic, that those can only be people already in a geographical location. The xenophobe can just as easily be the migrant or the descendants thereof, sons, daughters, or grandsons, granddaughters. My point is, so who are the xenophobes precisely? It isn't the Europeans, obviously. Who is it that is so unaccepting, phobe, unaccepting of Western culture, Western style economics, political thought, philosophy, art, music, literature? Who is it that has this fear of Western culture to the point that they're willing to bomb it? So who are the xenophobes? Yeah, it's the Islamists. The fear of Western culture to the point that they're willing to bomb it. Sounds xenophobic to me. What would you call it? Until next time, hope life is treating you well. Have a great day.